Hi, what's up everybody? Welcome back once again to my YouTube channel. How are you guys? I hope everybody's having a good time. In today's video, I want to answer a question that was asked to me in the comments by DankGTR.
Can you elaborate on that spring setup in the back? I've had a lot of guitars that have the 3 springs set up like that and they're fine, but some of my other guitars are having a lot of intonation problems.
So, this is a question that I have received so many times and that I myself remember asking in the past, when I was a beginner. There is an important difference between keeping the bridge springs parallel to each other or in across the order. Let's try to give some fundamental explanations, but first of all guys, I want to ask you to please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's totally free and it's the only real thing that helps my channel to grow on YouTube with a new modern algorithm. Leave a comment and like, and if you really want to support my work, please buy my albums on BandCamp. You can find all the links to great things in the description below. So, the Floyd Rose works in a similar way to a vintage-style tremolo that you usually find on Stratocaster-like guitars. In fact, this familiar design has been featured on Fender Strat since the 50s, and the vintage screw-in tremolo remains a popular choice today. It essentially allows you to raise or lower the pitch of your guitar to achieve a vibrato effect. A Floyd Rose floating bridge lets you lock the strings in place at 2 points on your guitar, at the bridge itself and at the nut, which is in fact a locking nut. The bridge features locking saddles, which the strings are inserted into. These are then fixed into place with the help of tightening bolts on the back of the bridge, which are adjustable with an Allen key. The bridge also features fine tuners, one for each string, to let players tune their guitar if the strings sharpen or flatten from extensive tremolo use or temperature changes. The locking nut, which is used in place of a traditional bone or synthetic nut, has a similar locking design, using 3 metal plates. These lock down 2 strings each and are also tightened with an Allen key. And this prevents the strings from sliding over the nut and going out of tune when using the whammy bar. So practically the strings are attached to the Floyd Rose bridge on top of the guitar, providing tension on one way, and the springs in the back counter or really equal the tension of the strings the opposite way, to allow the Floyd Rose to float and to move freely, always coming back to the same tuning. There is no real rule to follow as long as the guitar remains in tune, even after intensive use. I personally always tend to use 3 springs and string gauge 10 to 52 in D standard or drop D tuning, because I tend to play very hard with the picking hand, so I need a decisive response from the bridge, otherwise the power chords would tend to sound a little out of tune. For example, when I started playing and was a beginner, now more than 20 years ago, oh by the way, I'm already in the 40 club, so I tried using only 2 springs or even 4 springs, always in standard tuning, but the level of force response of the bridge was really too exaggerated, both on the soft and the hard side. So I invite you to experiment. The only thing I advise you to do is to avoid adding even 5 springs to your Floyd Rose if you plan to make intensive use of the floating bridge, because otherwise you would find yourself adding a lot of force and tension on the joint between the neck and the body of your guitar. So, I start from the assumption that there is no real rule to follow other than your own common sense and certain signals that each of you will notice when playing your guitar. I advise you to always keep the springs of your Floyd Rose parallel to each other, 3 springs maximum, with a free slot in the connection between bridge and claw. I repeat, as a disclaimer, this is just my opinion. I know that there are many people convinced that it is better to keep the springs angled or 2x2 or 3+1 on the weakest side. Really, everyone can do what they want. However, if you are looking for tuning stability, good intonation and good homogeneous tension over the entire length of the fingerboard, even by changing guitar tuning, then the ideal solution is to use 3 springs parallel to each other, spaced apart, and now I'll explain why. First of all, the most obvious thing that can happen when you make heavy use of the floating bridge is to make beautiful live dive bombs, but also high-pitched harmonics. Now, imagine what happens when you do a dive bomb with angled springs. The strings get shorter, the springs get longer. so the external angled ones are longer than the one in the center, and so far everything is okay. But what if you do a harmonic squeal instead? The tension becomes opposite. Therefore, these strings lengthen and these springs shorten. But in what way? The external angled ones reach almost zero tension. The one in the center, which already had very little tension, loses it completely. Imagine what could happen? It could come out of its seat and ruin the live performance on stage. You could say goodbye to your tuning. On the contrary, by keeping the springs parallel to each other, every change in tension on the strings is distributed evenly across all the springs, making the system very much stable. Another important aspect is that angled springs certainly lead to having a twisted floating bridge, either on the side of the lower string or on the side of the higher strings. It's also something visually understandable. Try keeping the springs angled and doing a nice dive bomb. You'll see that the bridge will no longer be parallel to the body of the guitar, but will be twisted on either side. So guys, in conclusion, I advise you to keep the springs of your Floyd Rose in a parallel and not angled position, and to use only 3 springs, leaving an empty slot between them for a greater stability of the system. Then, it is clear, everyone can do as they want. There is no real rule, and therefore someone could obtain better results by doing the opposite of what I have just said. What I can guarantee, however, is that if Mr. Floyd D. Rose designed his floating bridge with parallel springs, well, maybe there was a reason for that. Oh, and by the way, everyone, including me, calls it tremolo bridge, but it's a vibrato bridge. Tremolo affects a sound's volume, vibrato affects a sound's pitch. So your volume knob can act as a tremolo device, and your Floyd Rose bridge can act as a vibrato device. Alright guys, we've reached the end of the video. I hope it will help you understanding better how a Floyd Rose bridge works. If you like what I'm doing, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It really helps me a lot to grow on YouTube. It's totally free, and if you really want to support my work, go buy my albums on BandCamp. Thank you for watching guys, see you in the next video. Ciao ne!